business owners and executives from around the Valley. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Good morning, and thank you for watching Business Leaders. My name is Lance Cardoza, and we'd like to thank our sponsor, bringing you Business Leader every Tuesday morning, right here at 11 o'clock, Flooring Liquidators. Their support and bringing this episode and other episodes can be seen at businessleaders.tv. This week on Business Leaders, Monsters Hockey. We love that hockey. And right here in Fresno, you have Monsters Hockey, the director of hockey, Darren Redmond. Thank you for being on the program, Darren.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You had a great event down at Selden Arena. You had a couple days down there with Monsters Hockey, and just saw a lot of old faces and those hockey lovers.
Wasn't it great? It just felt like home.
Felt like home.
Yes, I mean, we had a nice series of the Highway 99 series against Bakersfield.
Yeah.
The Bakersfield Roughnecks, and we were fortunate enough to win all three. And the action on the ice was wonderful, but the action in the stands and people meeting each other, and it's been a long time. You were there.
It was like a family reunion
it really
of people
was.
just coming together that's been, just seeing it in Selden Arena.
Yes, because Selden Arena is a wonderful place. And, I mean, Save-Mart Center is wonderful, but Selden, it's with those low ceilings, the acoustics are wonderful, easy access anywhere you walk, and it was just wonderful.
The puck drop.
Yes.
You had Monty Torres on there from
who is an incredible singer. I heard that he was.
Yeah.
But my gosh, the man can sing.
He could sing. He was right there dropping, and Kopi.
And Kopi, that's right.
I was worried about Kopi. He was out there walking with Gnarly Charlie on the ice, and Kopi seemed like he's done this before.
And what I loved was, even though it's cold on the ice, and he's not 21 anymore, but Kopi was rocking the Hawaiian shirt, which was outstanding.
Out on the ice.
Yes, out on the ice.
It was a great event. It was really good. And talk to me about Monsters Hockey.
Sure.
Because they're doing really well right now. And it's always a fun experience going out to a hockey game. If you've never been to a hockey game, that's the best way to start, by going to Fresno Monsters Hockey and checking it out.
Absolutely. We've been in the area since 2009. We're a junior hockey team, which means when somebody reaches the age of about 16 or 17 and they want to take a next level, they're talented, they want to get some really accentuated coaching, they want to travel, and they want to be seen by colleges, they want to be seen by minor hockey league programs, you go through junior hockey. And we are two-time back-to-back USPHL champions. We just won our division. Playoffs are going on right now. And if a person wants to see a hockey game, go to the Gateway Ice Center website, go down to the Gateway Ice Center and come and purchase a ticket and watch us play. We are, when you go to nationals, it's exciting. Could you imagine being 16 to 20 years old, you've never really left the state before, and now you're traveling. This year it's in New York. Last year was in Virginia. We have, by the way, players from 7 different countries. And they come together, and you learn and you grow. And right here in Fresno, we have billet families that bring them in, sort of like a foreign exchange student type of thing. And it's just a wonderful experience for everybody involved.
There's a big event tonight.
Yes.
And it's benefiting the Zachary Horton Foundation.
Yes.
And we have actually Zachary's father that's going to come on the show right after our commercial break.
Correct.
And talk about tonight's event. And talk to me about tonight's event.
Tonight's event, we hope, will save some lives and get rid of the stigma of addiction. Jim could talk about it much more eloquently than I can. And we have naloxone, which is Narcan, we will give away for free. If you go to a pharmacy and try to buy it, it's like $120. We're giving it away for free. We're also going to give away fentanyl test strips. So if you're at a bar or you're out with your friends and somebody gives you something, you can test it to see if there's any fentanyl in it. And while the results aren't always 100% accurate, pretty close.
A little bit of peace of mind.
Correct.
Peace of mind. And that's all happening tonight, Gateway Center.
No, tonight's going to happen over at the Fresno State.
Oh, Fresno State.
Yes, at the new Student Union building. And we're doing it in collaboration with the Fresno Nursing Program.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, Jim could talk about that. It's exciting stuff.
So what else is coming up with Fresno Hockey, or even you, Darren? And I know that you wear many hats.
Sure.
But Grant Ryder's softball coach.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
and
yes.
here you are with the Fresno Hockey.
Yeah, I am head coach, co-head coach of the of the San Joaquin Memorial softball. Great group of young ladies, athletes that are terrific, and we're just starting our season, and so that's exciting. I also write grants, do that for San Joaquin Memorial, and which is so important, because when there is available grants for things to make life easier for those around us, or make education possible for people, why not apply for those? And that's what I really like to do. I like to give back. I've done 2 documentaries.
Yeah.
You know, we can talk about that, and it's just exciting. I love stories. That's why I love your show. I love
There's great stories, and we have great business people that we bring on, and
Yes.
business leaders and people that impact our lives right here in the Valley, and a lot of stones that go unturned sometimes to tell those stories.
Though you had Pastor Joe on the other week, and that was hysterical.
Oh,
I
yeah.
learned a lot and laughed along the way. Right?
Yeah.
What a win-win.
Those guys, they're so much fun.
Yes, sure.
They're so much fun, and it's great every time you bring on a different business leader or a community leader. There's, like I said, there's always a story there that'll connect with somebody or inspire somebody to do more business or be able to think a little bit outside their walls of comfort.
Right.
You know,
right.
Being an entrepreneur or a leader is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. You need not to be risk averse.
Exactly.
You need to take calculated risk. You know, a couple of years ago, during the height of COVID, I started podcasting. And one of the reasons we did it was to reach out to those in addiction or those struggling who couldn't get out. They couldn't get to their meetings.
Yeah.
Or they just couldn't get out.
That
and
sense of
interface with
community
people.
that they
No,
needed.
Correct.
Yeah.
So why not just give them sort of a voice, even if they can't talk back? Most people do. I talk to my,
Yeah.
you know, when I
Yeah.
hear something great. So I've been doing that for 2 years now, and it reached some amazing people, and you hear some amazing stories, and which I'm sure you do through your show as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's exciting to give back to the community.
And a lot of bad things happened during the pandemic, but a lot of good things and a lot of new directions
Sure.
also happened. And a lot of
Sure.
new doors opened. And as I explained, sometimes that door will crack open, but it's our job to kick that door in when it presents itself.
Oh, 100%.
be able to do
And
that.
boy, you learn to be nimble, and you learn to be to think ahead when you have a situation like that where, oh, by the way, your business model is now changing.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting.
When we come back, we're going to sit down with Jim Horton with the Zachary Horton Foundation, and tonight is benefiting the Zachary Horton Foundation. Don't go away. There's more to come, talking about Monsters Hockey and talking about tonight's event right here in Fresno. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Excellent.
Welcome back, everybody, to Business Leaders right here at KMPH Fox 26. Lance Cardoza. I'm joined by Darren Redmond. And Darren, with Fresno Monsters Hockey, is the director of hockey. And also Jim Horton now joining us. And Jim, you represent the Zachary Horton Foundation. And really talking about opioid addiction.
Yes.
And you have a very personal story to that. And we want to be respectful of that story, but a lot of times sharing that story is what will hopefully save another. And
Yes.
and so Zachary was your son, and tell us what's going to happen tonight and about the Zachary Horton Foundation.
Sure. So Lance, it was just about 3 years ago, my son died from an accidental opioid overdose. And just a horrendous time, as you might imagine, the last 3 years. My wife and I quickly decided that we needed to create a foundation in his name that would hopefully bring some relief to other parents and other families struggling with this disease. Mm-hmm. So the mission of our foundation is to end the stigma of addiction.
Yeah.
And what we found was that the denial that we faced as a family was so deep that even when we were confronted with all the signs, we still denied it. We couldn't talk about it to friends or family.
Yeah.
And so to that end now, and in breaking the stigma of addiction, the event tonight at Fresno State from 5 to 8 is a harm reduction overdose prevention summit. And so we're going to have 8 incredible speakers that will be there through the evening for 3 hours, telling their stories, telling the successes that they've experienced after years of addiction, some with incarceration and other tragedies that you would think they could never overcome. And yet we get to see what the good side of what recovery can look like.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes in addiction, what happens is all we see is, especially in the families, we have the pain of dealing with the addict. And we forget that there are many, many more people in recovery.
Yeah.
And that are experiencing different levels of recovery, and we need to rejoice that.
And
right?
a lot of times support.
It's so big.
It's a hard journey,
Yes.
you know, and I worked in this space a little bit when Pain first started. I was on their board, and when you really look at families that are struggling with this, and like you said, in the midst of everything happening, it's hard to, like you say, be in a denial. It's not my kid.
Right.
My kid can't be doing this or be in this situation, or will never end up in a situation like that. That's got to be very hard for a parent, and then to be on the other side of that as a parent.
Well, and Lance, it's not just that it's you. When you're in crisis, when you're experiencing that kind of pain, your mind isn't firing correctly. You're not thinking correctly. You're not trained for that at that time, and that's where the denial comes in. And so one of the discussions that I have so often on my podcast, or when I'm talking to people, when I'm talking to groups of people, or at the university, or to anyone, we talk about changing the conversation around addiction. So, you know, substance use disorder has been viewed a certain way, you know, that it's a moral deficit of the people who suffer from it, and it's something that needs to be punished out of people. And the truth is, it's a disease, and we need to treat it like that. And because that, we need to change that conversation about addiction early on, and we need to talk about it differently, often, and with our friends. And it doesn't need to be hidden, but it needs to be brought out into the light. So tonight we're going to do that for 3 hours, and we're going to talk about it and give hopefully, you know, 500. Individuals at the Resnick Center at Student Union at Fresno State, you know, the opportunity to listen to different points of view, and to hear it, and again, to hopefully start a conversation.
Yeah, and maybe somebody that's struggling with it, this is their opportunity to reach out for help.
Absolutely. And as Darren mentioned earlier, we will be handing out 500 cases of Narcan and fentanyl testing strips. So again, how great it will be for 500 individuals to leave, be fully trained that evening on how to administer Narcan if it's necessary, and perhaps, you know, possibly save a life.
At the top of the program, Darren, you were mentioning those strips and how they work, and Jim could explain that and explain how that works, because fentanyl is a very deadly drug.
It is.
It can be laced in many things.
And almost, from what I'm hearing from the different recovery centers here locally, is that almost virtually every street drug that's produced on the street today has fentanyl laced it, or possibly has fentanyl laced into it, right? So, and that's the danger with fentanyl. People that are just, you know, back when I was in college, you know, every weekend you get a group of people together, someone is going to have some illegal drugs, possibly, even down to just smoking marijuana, it's laced into that, right? So, but anything that's a liquid or that's a powder can be tested with a fentanyl testing strip. And again, people that are just, they're not hardcore addicts. They're not shooting up. That's not their thing. They can still test whatever it is that they have, and they can see that that's safe. And that's part of a harm reduction model. That's part of changing the conversation, you know, about what it can be like. It's not that we're promoting that, or that we think that's what people should do, but realizing that that's possible, we want to give people the opportunity to live.
Yeah, to be able to live and to get through that.
That's right.
And also, too, parents to have a peace of mind. If they feel there's something with their child and this might be involved, it could be something for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so it's open to the whole community. They can go to our website at the ZacharyHortonFoundation.org and order a ticket. It's free of charge. They just sign up online.
Sign up right online.
And they can come tonight at 5 o'clock.
And then parking, any details of that, we'll talk about that when we come back here in just a moment. We'll give more information about the Zachary Horton Foundation event, Fresno Monsters Hockey playing a big role in helping make this happen to get this word out tonight for the event. So we make sure if you want to come out and just get educated, or even a peace of mind, if you're a parent and you're wondering, where do I turn? What's next? Come out to this event tonight. We'll talk more about it in just a moment right here on Business Leaders. Don't go away. More to come. Welcome back to Business Leaders right here on KMPH Fox 26 every Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. Make sure you join me right here in the studio as we bring you business leaders and leaders throughout the valley and abroad right here on Tuesday mornings at 11 a.m. Also catch this episode and other episodes by going to businessleaders.tv. The director of hockey at Monsters Hockey, Darren Redmond, joining us, and also Zachary Horton Foundation and Jim Horton coming in representing your son's legacy and being able to help others in crisis and families in crisis. And it's going to happen tonight at Fresno State. We briefly mentioned parking and how to access Fresno State, because that could always be a chore.
Sure.
But how's that work tonight?
So we're attacking one challenge at a time. Parking will still be a challenge at Fresno State.
Oh, yeah.
And our hope is that the benefit they'll get from the harm reduction and overdose awareness summit will mitigate the problems we'll have parking. It's still an issue.
Oh yeah, it's still an issue. But so it's at what building? What facility?
It's at the Reiner Center.
The Resnick Center. Yes, the new Student Union building.
Yes.
The new Student Union building. And that's where the presentations will happen?
Yes, first floor.
Yeah, and you said there's 6 different speakers.
There'll be 8 different speakers, yes.
Excuse me, 8 different speakers.
Yeah, and authors and TED Talkers, and so, yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Great. So, and who attends these events typically? Someone that's in crisis, or someone that share their story, or is it family?
Well, yeah, so
parents?
from our speakers, actually, Mayor Jerry Dyer is going to do our opening comments from there, and then another local Clovis celebrity, is Tony Hoffman, BMX
Tony,
Olympia.
yes.
So Tony's sending in. Well, he's not in town. He's in Massachusetts. He's working that day. But he's going to send a video message for us. And then locally, Michael Pritchard also works with the county and is a criminology professor out at Fresno State. He'll be talking. Then a couple book authors that have great, again, just great stories and of addiction and then of success, through that. So then my wife and I will be speaking a little bit too at the end, and then the students of the Fresno nursing program, the Fresno State nursing program, will be doing the demonstration on Narcan.
Okay.
And then we'll be passing that out.
And give us an idea with Narcan. What is Narcan?
Narcan is an opioid antagonist. So what that means is the opioids, when you take them, they tell your body to calm down. They relieve pain, right? That's their purpose. Yeah. You take too much, then they tell your heart to stop beating and your lungs to stop breathing. Yeah. Right? And so as soon as you administer Narcan, if you see somebody that is non-responsive and you administer Narcan, it's a nasal spray, that spray goes into the brain and it shuts off those receptors. And immediately the lungs start breathing, the heart starts beating again, and it revives the individual.
So could a parent have a moment of relief to be able to get them emergency services?
Exactly. Then dial 911 and get because
do what you need to do.
Exactly.
It's exactly what the EMTs give the person.
So with the EMT.
So that much time is not wasted. You can give it right away.
Right away. And a parent coming to an event like that probably is searching for more than answers of Narcan and more. And what a perfect opportunity to hear other parents that have experienced this and gone through that, to be able to connect and network with each other to help a loved one in crisis. Because when they're in crisis, the whole unit, family unit's in crisis. And trying to just, and you mentioned it, you can't have all the answers. You're in survival mode.
That's right.
At that point, and the end is never a good solution without a plan. So I love that you guys are doing this tonight out at Fresno State, and that Fresno Monsters Hockey is yielding some of their time to be able to bring on Zachary Horton Foundation to do this today.
If I can, real quick, I know we don't have a lot of time, but the Zachary Horton Foundation, early in the season, volunteered to set up in a lobby of one of our games and give away Narcan. So we feel reciprocal obligation and a wonderful thing, because hockey players take pain medication from time to time.
Yeah.
So they can easily fall into this thing. And we're in the Fresno Monsters are a nonprofit. We've been around since 2009, and we like to give back to the community. So anytime that we can get behind something like this, we are so privileged to do so.
Beautiful, and thank you for, Darren, making that possible for organizations like what Jim and your wife's name?
Lynn.
And Jen and Lynn has put together for Zachary and the Zachary Horton Foundation. And Fresno Monsters Hockey works with many nonprofits.
Yes.
You're playing well right now. We talked about that at the top of the show. How do people get tickets out of the Gateway Ice Center?
Just go to our website for the Gateway Ice Center, or just come down to the Gateway Ice Center, and tickets will always be available.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me, Darren, because you're a softball coach and you love hockey, what's the big attraction to you in hockey?
It is the greatest game to watch live. There's so much going on that a camera cannot just pick up. The camera's going to follow the puck, but there's checking going on, there's jawing going on, there's people getting open. There's just it's so fast.
So fast.
Yep.
And the fans are just totally engulfed in it.
Absolutely, and they become the next person on the ice. When you go to a home game at Gateway or at Selland, boy, I tell you, you're there for an experience. You're going to be exhausted when you leave.
You'll be exhausted. I remember I having my little redhead to the very first hockey game down at Selland Arena, and we sat right there on the ice. Zoe, my little redhead. And all of a sudden, she just became a little monster herself. She was so fired up, and she was on the glass, and she was having such a good time and just releasing all this energy. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on my program. It's all the time we have. And we look forward to tonight. Fresno State, go out and support and be a part of this movement here. And thank you for your time. Have a great day.